Alright, let's dive into one of JavaScript's weirdest corners. What actually happens when you try to use an object where you're supposed to have, a string or a number? It can feel totally unpredictable, kind of like magic. But as you're about to see, it's not magic at all. It's all based on a fascinating and kind of secret set of rules. So let's just jump right in with a classic JavaScript puzzle. You take an object, you add the number 500 to it. Now, you'd probably expect an error, right? A type error maybe? But nope. Instead, you get this weird looking string, object 500. What is going on here? Well, this isn't a bug. It's actually a completely predictable process. We just need to learn the rules of the game. The whole key to solving this mystery is understanding that JavaScript isn't just winging it. When it finds an object where it doesn't expect one, it gives that object a little hint to help guide it into becoming a primitive value. And that's it. There are only 3 of these hints. Seriously, just 3. If you can get your head around them, you've basically cracked the entire process. So here they are. First, you've got the string hint. Pretty straightforward, right? It's for things like alert that obviously want a string. Then there's the number hint for clear-cut math stuff. But the one you really gotta watch is default. This is the one JavaScript uses for operators that are kind of ambiguous, like the plus sign. Is it for adding numbers, or is it for joining strings? This default hint is where all the interesting and sometimes confusing behavior really comes from. So the object gets its hint. What's next? Well, JavaScript doesn't just make it up as it goes. It follows a super strict step-by-step algorithm. Think of it like a playbook that it runs through exactly the same way every single time to get that primitive value. And this is that exact playbook. First things first, JavaScript looks for this modern method called Symbol.toPrimitive. If your object has that, boom, job done. If it doesn't though, it falls back to the older methods. And here is the absolute key detail. The hint decides the order. If the hint is string, it tries toString first. But if the hint is number or default, it tries valueOf first. That simple change in order, well, that's everything. Now, the best part about knowing all these rules is that you're not just a spectator anymore. You can actually implement these exact conversion methods on your own objects and take complete control over how they behave. You get to teach them what to do. So you basically got 2 ways to do this. On the left, you have the modern approach, a single Symbol.toPrimitive method that can handle all 3 hints. It's super clean, really explicit. Then on the right, you've got the old school way. You implement a separate toString method and a separate valueOf method. They both get you to the same place, but you can see how the modern way really centralizes all that logic. But let's be real. Do you always need all that complexity? Absolutely not. For most of what you're doing day to day, especially with things like logging, just implementing one single solid toString method is often all you'll ever need. It just becomes your catch-all, giving you a nice human readable version of your object whenever you need it. Okay, so you might be thinking you've got the whole picture now, right? An object gets a hint, it converts to a primitive, and that's the end of the story. But there is one final and really crucial twist to all of this. To see this twist in action, we're going to use this super simple object. All we've done is define it so that its toString method will always, no matter what, return the primitive string 2. That's its only job. Now watch what happens when we try to multiply this object by 2. This is a 2-step process. Step 1, the object of primitive conversion happens. Our object becomes the string 2. But wait, the multiplication operator needs a number, not a string. So JavaScript performs a second conversion, turning the string 2 into the number 2. Then, and only then, does it do the math. 2 times 2, which gives us 4. Okay, now let's swap that multiplication sign for a plus sign. Stage 1 is exactly the same. Our object becomes the string 2. But the plus operator, it's special. The second it sees a string involved in the operation, its whole personality flips from addition to concatenation. So it just joins the string 2 with the number 2, and that gives us the final string 22. Alright, we've gone way down into the weeds here. So let's pull back up and put this all together. What are the key things you actually need to remember when you're writing your own code? So this is the entire process in a nutshell. You've got 3 hits. JavaScript always checks for Symbol.toPrimitive first. If it's not there, it falls back to toString and valueOf. And remember, the hint is what decides which of those 2 it tries first. And never ever forget that sneaky second conversion might happen to whatever primitive comes out of this process. Look, if you remember just one thing from all of this, make it this. For most practical situations, especially when all you want is a clean output from logging or debugging, implementing a single, well thought out toString method is probably the most effective and pragmatic thing you can do. So there you have it. You know the secret rules now. The magic is gone, and what's left is a predictable system. So the final question is for you. How are you going to use this? I mean, think about JavaScript's built-in date object. Now that you know these rules, how would you design its conversion so that subtracting one date from another gives you back something truly useful, like the time difference in milliseconds? That's when this all goes from just theory to a really powerful tool in your toolbox.